really. So around Christmas, New Year's time, more New Year's time, uh, I was doing the White Rush, and I ended up doing that. I ended up getting that done. Uh, Not with any kind of respectable time or anything. I did it in just under an hour. It was like 56, 57 maybe. So I mean, nothing crazy. But the point is, it's done. I will revisit it because this is the last trophy I need to platinum this game. And so once I platinum the game, it's going to be a bunch of just running through the old levels, getting a best time on all of them, you know, climbing the ranks, trying to make it so that none of my buddies who play the game can beat the times, and if they do, I can come back through and beat their times. No, but mostly just want to get the platinum trophy before I even try doing anything extra. The furthest I made it on Mikey's rush was I had just made it to the final fight with Green, and then I got killed because of really because of my own negligence. But that little bit of boost you get, that right there, from the Dominion grapple, it killed me. That little bit of boost was just enough to lift me up over the small piece of, like, protection that I had in the level, and Green's laser ended up getting me. So we're back at it again. I'm more confident than ever. All my buddies done went to bed, left me by my little old lonesome. So I figured, you know, haven't really been doing much for YouTube. I do plan on finishing off Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm gonna do that for sure. Really just been hanging out with my buddies a lot more, you know, playing games with them. And when I'm not, I've been playing Dragon's Dogma 2, which I know gets a lot of shit. And I could see in some parts where it does kind of deserve the shit that it gets. But like, other than like the cringe ass dialogue and some of the like most confusing fucking story missions and missions in general that I've ever had the displeasure of doing, the gameplay itself is pretty fun. Other than that, I mean, procrastination. I'll do it. Doesn't do it. But no. I imagine I'll probably do it sometime tomorrow morning. I'll wake up and play some Five Nights at Freddy's. Finish that off. Because I've found that there is indeed a better strategy than what I was doing for night 5 and 6. And that is to basically totally fucking ignore the right door until Chica doesn't appear on the right camera. So the way it'll work is, and I don't know the exact nitty-gritties, like you know, how it works in the game, but basically, you'll keep Freddy at bay somehow for some reason. The code doesn't want Freddy to jump through the door. You'll keep Freddy at bay by not looking at the right door and constant. Oh wait, no. Okay, hang on. I'm starting to remember. Um, when the camera flips up and it's on Freddy, he doesn't want to move. So as long as I keep the camera flipped up and on that one area right by my door where Freddy's gonna be, then... Oh, shit. That wasn't good. That wasn't good at all. As long as I keep my camera flipped on that, I can pretty safely stay on the left side, close the door when Bonnie gets there. When Chica appears on the camera, when I flip it up, be ready to flip over to the right and close the door. Because when Chica appears, or when she disappears, rather, then I flip over, check the light, and shut the door if she's there. Foxy apparently doesn't need to have the camera on him, like directly on him. The camera just needs to be flipped on. But that doesn't mean I can just ignore Foxy. I don't think. I'll have to rewatch the strategy video. But I think for the most part I can't ignore Foxy. Other than that, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is very well in the bag. And then we can get on to Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I actually played when I was younger, as well as Five Nights at Freddy's 3, because they actually had demos for those, and so I played those on my phone when I was just a wee boy, like back in Five Nights at Freddy's heyday. And I'll be a lot more consistent with those. I know I've been saying that I want to get a lot more consistent with YouTube, especially with how well it's going. Like it's kind of meager, but like holy shit, my Dark Souls video I posted like about a month ago at this point has over fucking 200 views. Dude, damn near 10 likes. That's the best any fucking video has done on my channel before. That is literally the best any video on my channel ever at all has done before. And I'm already fucking beyond surprised. I want to push it. I want to push it to the point where like I can comfortably say that I can like make a YouTube video and expect it to get views, whereas like, you know, now it's like with some of the videos, you know, I've almost got to expect that they just won't do very well. Like I posted a Fortnite video and I pretty much knew that was gonna go basically nowhere, and it did. Just because there are so many Fortnite videos, and most of the people that do watch Fortnite videos are you know, they've already got people that they're gonna watch, so. And I mean, like, with Dark Souls, it's pretty much the same thing. But eventually, I will get to that point too. My biggest goal is to, my biggest goal right now, and it's a pretty fucking, like, high set goal, especially for where I am. But, like, my ultimate goal for now is 1,000 subscribers. If I can get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll probably die a happy man. Um, as of now, that I'm fucking nowhere close. I think I've got like 43 now, with Mr. Fazballs subscribing to me the other night when I was doing a Five Nights at Freddy's stream, which dude, fucking awesome, awesome. Love that guy. Love that guy. That guy's about cool as shit, dude. I missed that fucking rocket. I'm sure there's a much faster way to do this level, but especially since I haven't got it done yet, I am like much more concerned with actually getting through the level than I am with doing it in any notable speed. Um, you know, just completing it in general is going to be more than enough for me. It's like, I don't know what it looks like on Steam, but on PlayStation, literally less than 1% of players have the platinum trophy for this game. It's like 0.4% of players, and understandably so. White's Hell Rush is no easy task. Not at all. But no, man, I've been playing some Baldur's Gate 3 with a couple of buddies. One of them who's played it before, but the friend he played it with was like super fucking weird with it. Like, he'd only play it because like the friend that he was trying to play it with had already beat the game, and so like he'd only play it with them, like if he downloaded these certain mods. Like one of them that because like I tried to play with. Um, One of them was like a 10,000 multiplier XP mod. So like when you killed like the very first imp that you got past, you would like level up to damn near level 12, if not level 12. Which is like, play the game how you want, but like if you're gonna play the game with somebody who's never played the game before, don't play it like that. Let them get a good experience in first, because like he had never played the game before, like let alone beat the game. And so like we were I don't know. He was trying to like partially explain things of the game to him, but like at the same time he would it it I'm just trying to wrap my fucking head around it. But no, dude, it was scummy. It was scummy. Long story short, it was scummy. But so now we're playing through the game without mods. Um, and we're not doing like a full evil playthrough like he wanted to do. Which, like, nothing wrong with a full evil playthrough. Nothing wrong with, going through and fucking killing everybody, or, siding with the absolute. But I don't know, I feel like the game is much better. It's much better experienced when, when you actually get to play it the way you want to play it, and not the way that, your friend or somebody else wants you to play it. And that goes for like really any and every JRPG, any RPG in general, like if you don't get to play it, that's why I refuse to play Undertale on stream or like anything, is because like I already know that like it's gonna be that thing of like, oh dude, you're just playing it wrong, which is like with an RPG, dude, there's literally no way to play it wrong. It's just how other people want to play the game, you know. Undertale, like, and of course, like this goes for like any fucking. Elden Ring probably has the scummiest fucking community that I've ever had the displeasure of being a part of. But you know, Undertale has like the weirdest community as far as that stuff goes. Just because like they will like literally hate you for like killing a certain NPC that they really like, or just playing the game a certain way, not doing the pacifist route essentially. If you don't do the pacifist route, then you're just like pure fucking evil, and you don't know how to play the game. Even though like undoubtedly, if you played the pacifist route, you get a lot more story than what you would if you were to do the genocide route first time around. But like, leave people to play the game how the fuck they want to play the game. That's kind of how it's designed to be. A role-playing game. You get to play whatever role you want. Also, like 90% of them are like grown-ass men. It's kind of crazy that, like, a grown-ass man, because I too am a grown-ass man, is gonna go crazy over how some other guy plays the game. You know. Like shit, even not like, the grown ass people, the whole like fucking 20, 30, 40-year-old people that like for whatever reason bitch about how people play certain games. It's like, you know, even if you're not like a grown ass person, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It'll never not be weird in my mind. It's because like, one, dude, we're playing a fucking video game, okay? Like, this is not affecting anyone in real time, and if it is, then like seek help. Um, the only way it can affect you is like in good, and if it's not affecting you in a good way, then maybe you either A, shouldn't play that game, or B, again, should seek fucking help. Unless you play For Honor. That game is rage-inducing. Or Rocket League. That game is also rage-inducing. There's like, far be it from me, it's not like I just don't get mad at the video games I play. Like, it's kind of hard not to get mad at certain things. And I get it, I'm yapping, I'm going off on a fat fucking tangent, but sorry to lock in. Like I'm no stranger to being mad at video games. Like, in my youth, I was like really bad with playing video games. Like, it got to a point where like I just couldn't play video games for a certain amount of time because it was much more about succeeding at those video games, and like you know, part of it kind of like fucked with my head really heavy, like in later life, because it was like my brain would associate like feeling good with success, and that's never how like anything should be ever, you know. It's like, you know, you don't have to be good at something to enjoy it, you know. You can just enjoy it. And it took like actually getting out and living life a little to figure that out. um so I mean, well, like, yeah, it's not like it's impossible to make me angry, you know. Like, I play Fortnite and then some dude kills me with the fucking art gun, and then I get frustrated, you know. It's But, you know, I'm not sitting here like fucking screaming at the top of my lungs, or like slamming down on my desk, or breaking controllers anymore, you know. Like, it's I won't say it's like, you know, something you'll grow out of. um but like, it's definitely something that, you know, you have to move past. You have to move on past that. Otherwise, like, life is not going to be fun. Life is not going to be life is not going to be kind. Because if your brain associates feeling good with success, then you will crumble. Like, in the most I don't know, I guess in the kindest way I could put that, you will crumble. You will fall. And I mean, yeah, you know, your brain associates feeling good with being successful. That is to a certain degree like good, because, like, you know, you don't want to be content with like a bad situation. Or, well, you know, I guess that does kind of go like against what I'm about to say, but like, you know, you don't want to be complacent with not being where you are, I guess, is what I was really trying to say. So like, if you're like at a certain point in life, and you know, you're looking back and you're like, you know, I really don't like the way things are. I want to change them. You know, I'm not saying just like fucking, you know, live in the slums or whatever, or you know, just not take care of yourself, as far as that's concerned. But you know, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing that you'll have to. I don't know, and it's not just as easy as like living through it, just because, you know, I handle things differently than what you might, and you'll handle things differently than what I might. It's just kind of how these things go, you know. But I'm trying to think of like the best way to put it. You can't you can't let failure eat you alive. Um, because if you do, then you'll never win. I guess is what I'm really trying to say. Um, because that mindset of like, if I'm not winning, then like I'm not good, or I shouldn't be feeling good, is like, I don't know, it carries over. And you know, it might not for everybody. It's just my personal experience. But like, you know, I can pretty vividly remember like being at work with dad, and like, you know, I'd fuck something up, or I'd make a wrong measurement, or just something like small, very small, that is like easily solvable. And then just getting mad at it and like wanting to throw stuff, which, like, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with being mad and wanting to throw stuff, but like, you can't let you can't let yourself be too complacent with like being successful all the time, or you know, being incredibly good at things all the time, because like you will, like, eventually, if you do something for long enough, you will be really good at it, and probably for the rest of your life if you keep it up, you know. But like it's not like you're not going to make mistakes. I guess that's where I'm really trying to get at, is like you can't beat yourself up for making mistakes. That's probably the biggest life lesson I've ever learned, is just don't beat yourself up for making mistakes. You can do and be anything. Don't be that guy that beats the shit out of himself for making the smallest mistake, because a lot of people do it. More people than what you might imagine. Like, okay, you sleazy little bastard. Don't know how that guy didn't die. But, no, no. I don't know. I'll stop talking. But, you know, I don't typically like to get too terribly serious with YouTube. But, you know, got to yapping, and one thing led into another. And I mean, hey, you never know. Maybe somebody hears that, and you know, it's just what they needed to hear. Not so much just what they needed to hear, but, or well, I guess I said that right. What I was looking not to say, it was like, you know, what they wanted to hear. You know, just the kind of thing that somebody would need to hear to not just feel better about themselves, but, you know, to push themselves forward. That's another big thing with me and, like, you know, YouTube, is I would love it that, you know, eventually at some point, you know, I have a certain reach where it's like, you know, I'll talk about something, and you know, somebody will hear me talk about it, and like they'll genuinely like take my advice to heart. Where it's like, you know, some things is like I much rather wouldn't, but like there are some things that like I've had to learn the hard way, and that I'd much rather not have other people go through. You know, there's there's plenty of things, and like while I don't want it to become like, you know, like I'm a life advice YouTuber. Um, I definitely don't mind giving life advice, just because some people don't get very good, if any at all, um, advisors, so to speak. Like, I am very thankful for my dad, uh, and I promise this is the last time I get super serious on YouTube. Well, the last time I get super serious tonight, maybe. But no, I'm super thankful for my dad, because he's got my back in probably what is going to be like the worst period of my life. Like, right now I'm homeless. And the only reason I'm able to like play video games and, you know, stream on YouTube and this, that, and the other thing, is because my granny, is she's kind enough to give me a place to stay. Um, and you know that it goes so much further than just like I'm homeless, like, and it's not for no reason. It's also not for like You know, like, oh, dude, fucking, I don't, I don't want to do anything, so it's just I'm just gonna be fucking homeless. You know, it's nothing like that. It's a it's a very wild, sporadic series of being incredibly fucked over by people you love, and not being able to make much progress in a place that revolves around not just knowing people, but your reputation with certain people. It's not like, you know, I've got a bad reputation or anything. You know, it's more along the lines of like I'm in a place where like I'd like to refer to it as like a clique, where it's like if you don't know this person or you're not like cousins with Billy Joe, then like, you know, you are not just like looked down upon, but like you're almost shunned. Um, it's a very like shitty place to try and get a job, to try and make a life. Um, but no, you know, like most people would figure that their mothers would have their backs in like any kind of situation, and you know, I really wish I could say that mine does. And I'm not trying to make this like a fucking pity party or anything. You know, I'm just trying to get this out there and get it across and, you know, really get it off my chest because I don't have many places or people to, like, you know, talk about it to or vent it to. But, you know, it, to make a really fucking long story short, it doesn't feel super good. Like, when somebody you love and supported for a as long as you could, as much as you could, uh, not only wants nothing to do with you, but I don't know, looks at you in a bad light, especially when that person's your mother. You know, it's hard to it's hard to live with that, especially when like your mother was, you know, a really good person at one point. But you know, drugs are a hell of a thing. They hell of an evil thing. You know, don't do meth, kids. But I through it all, I know my dad has my back. Oh man, I folded that level super hard. But no, to kind of finish off and wrap up what I was saying earlier, you know, it's a lot better to, I won't say like ignore like, you know, any kind of pain that you feel. Um, just because it's a very human emotion that is a very regular thing to feel. You know, it's and I'd almost suggest against ignoring it. Um, and worst of all, I'd suggest completely against you know, just living with it. You know, being complacent with a certain pain that you feel, and it doesn't mean to like act on it, but you know, you just got to figure out how to look past it. Figuring out how to forgive people for what they do to you is a lot easier said than done. But when you do figure that out, it feels so very good. It feels a lot better than hating them. That's for sure. Just, yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to fill any kind of void of, you know, pain or really any negative emotion that, you know, one might be feeling. I would not recommend trying to fill that with more negative emotion. You know, specifically hate. That's it's a doozy. It's a doozy to say the least. I'm going to take a snack water break after this stage, so I'll just kind of hang out and read chat if anybody ends up popping in. I want to preface really quickly that and I really don't intend for tonight to be like a super serious night. But I want to preface, I don't hate my mom at all. I've never hated my mom. I uh, I hate what she's become, and I hate some of the things that she's done. But yeah, and I can't even say that like I hate it, you know, because that would be a little hypocritical of what I just got done talking about how hate is a bad emotion to replace with any kind of negative emotion. But you know, it's a it's it's an interesting. It's I don't hate it as much as it, like, and what I'm about to say is probably gonna sound like, oh well, that's just like a fancy way of saying you hate it. I greatly despise who she's become and what she does. Uh, Damn near choked on a pistachio. No, I mean, I mostly preface that just because, like, to some people, I've tried to talk to about, just certain things, and like, I'm definitely not going like into detail at all on YouTube, mostly because it's like, spare me the shit. Um, but no, I preface that just because there are a lot of people who would be like, "Oh, dude, like how could you, you know, hate your mom? How could you not respect her?" And it's not like I do hate her or I don't respect her. It's I don't know. It's hard to say that I respect her because I know that she I don't want to say that she doesn't respect me, but she doesn't. You know, she doesn't. And, that's that. But, I mean, hey, I got some Neon White to play. Less thinking, less yapping, more playing. Which, by the way, what's going on, y'all? Hope you guys are having an incredible early ass morning, depending on where you are. For those stopping in, I'm doing a Mikey rush. The Hell Rush. I guess I put it in my title. Just recently, I've completed the White Hell Rush, and so this is next on the chopping block, so to speak. Next on the chopping block, and the last achievement that I have to get for this game before it's platinum, and you know that's quite the accolade. No. I almost just want to restart the run because fucking huge waste of a miracle card, but whatever. But no, I mean, definitely don't expect anything glamorous. Um, I'm not really playing to get any kind of crazy special time. I'm playing to complete it. It'd be cool to get a really good time, but that's not really what I'm focused on. You know, obviously, I'm not just going to like take every level with a grain of salt and move ridiculously slow. It kind of goes against the essence of the game, and I feel like if I pussyfooted it the entire time, I just would not have fun. Uh, so I'm saving myself the bullshit and getting right into making it fun. Besides, if I don't try to expound on the strategies that I already know in the hell rushes, then how am I gonna get any better? And I mean, what better way to get better at a game like this than to do it as at least effective as possible? Without being too risky. That's another thing is like I know about a few of the risky strategies that one might take in playing this, but a lot of the times, especially if like the strategy involves probably dying, then I'll avoid it. I'll avoid it almost entirely. Just because again, it's a lot more about not dying and actually getting through this so I can get this goofy ass achievement. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't expect anything glamorous at all. You know, I'll throw in a strategy here and there, like not actually doing the stage there, and just jumping up and fucking basically doing the rest of the level just by shooting the barrels. That's always fun. And probably not at all how the devs like necessarily intended for you to do it. No, I'm mostly just gonna stick with the safer strategies. Like, trying to think of one that I'm... Because there's a couple that don't necessarily come to mind. But, you know, you'll know whenever you see. Like, I'll be playing it a lot safer than what you might see if you were to watch somebody do it as quick as possible. Just because, you know, it kind of goes without saying, but Hell Rush, you die, it's over, you know? So, if I can get through and not die, it gets me where I want to be. If it gets me where I want to be. Like, I'm gonna use, like, what would normally be somewhat a risky strategy up here. I didn't know that there was a lip that you couldn't hit that from, but, here's a good one to bring up. The Book of Life. I believe it's the final stage of the Book of Life. It's the final stage, or like the next to final stage. But I'm gonna play that one super safe. I believe it's the one that's right before the final fight with White. But and like I'll point it out if I get there. But yeah, I'm definitely just gonna play it super safe. But no, as far as playing safe goes, like, I mean, I guess, like, I'm not gonna go for, I didn't think you'd be able to go for an early kill, and, cause I know you can early kill him, like in the clock tower on Mikey's. I don't know about the second fight with, okay, that was cheap as fuck. I don't know about the second fight with him, where he's, where you fight him at, like, the hand of God, or whatever. I don't know if you can early that one on the Mikey rush. Because, I've only ever made it that far. and I didn't kill him. But that was on, like, my third or fourth try tonight. I believe it was my third try tonight. I made it to second green fight, and I got totally fucked over by that little bit of a boost in the air that you get when you use the Dominion discard. But I'm not gonna let that happen this time. No siree. We got this shit in the bag. You know, there's some levels that are fun to do, like, relatively fast, kind of like that one, where it's like, you know, I can play it a little loosey-goosey without necessarily having to worry about being safe. And if anybody's wondering, like, where my usual energy is, it's super fucking early for me. And like everybody in the house is asleep, as they should be, as I honestly should be. But everybody's asleep, and I'm really not trying to wake anybody up. I don't try to sound like an edgelord. I'm not trying to force the raspiness. I'm not a fucking cornball. But you know, I gotta be relatively quiet. Just because my granny, my lovely granny, is she's asleep, like right next to me. We are separated by a wall, a thin wall. So, and I don't wanna wake her up. I feel like shit. I would feel like shit. Whee! That was just straight up inefficient, but fun. I like to be super careful there. Always check to see if the last demon over there dies. Because Purify, you can really just look in that general area, but the Dominion explosion is just ever so slightly smaller. Almost choked that real hard. Hello, 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 hello. Greetings, viewers. Keeping it a buck with myself. Low-key probably bots. But hey, Might be a person. Don't want to be rude. Damn. Damn, 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 damn. I may have just fucked myself. Y'all. Yeah. Looks like I'm gonna have to pull this. Which I think that was everything. Yeah. Jake, that's okay. That's okay. I've ran through it enough with the White Rush that I'm pretty confident in not taking damage. And there are certain parts where I can get like the little health cards. I'm not super worried about it. Only you know, it's really nice to have the miracle cards when you need them. Because if you need it and you don't have it, it can end a run like really quick. Figured that shit out the hard way too. Really? Damn. I've never seen it just kill one guy. It's usually like two and then one guy gets left, but damn. That was a fucking dud rocket launcher. I guess a dud rocket. You don't shoot the whole fucking launcher. Technically, it would be just the I love doing that voice. It's so fun to do that fucking Poindexter voice. Oh my god. Get me in the fucking thing. I like doing a lot of voices. It's part of the reason why fucking D&D is so fun for me, because I get to sit and like not just like experiment with voices, and like, you know, what voices I can and can't do very well, but man, I just get to sit there and fucking play with it. I get to play with it. I get to use my voice, and it's not like in a weird way where it's like I'm interjecting an accent or something, like a weird voice in like a conversation, or I'm not just like, you know, it's not like I feel like I'm being weird whenever I do, you know. I get a kick out of it, so I don't give a fuck what people think, especially since it harms not a soul. But no, I feel like that's that's at least the main bit of like what makes D&D so enjoyable for me. Like really everything about I I could fucking nerd out on some D&D talk all day, all night long. Talk about how my favorite fucking creatures are owlbears. I think those things are cool as shit. dude, because what do you mean you took an owl and a bear and put them together? Bear body, fucking owl feathers. What do you mean, dude? And I'm not supposed to fucking think it's the most badass thing ever? Are you kidding me? No. But, being able to be and do anything really takes the cake for me. That's probably like my number one fucking thing with D&D. My number one that's like one of the biggest reasons I love playing it. I love playing it with other people, especially like as the DM. Is like I can not just like put them through anything, but like I get to sit there and not just like experience it, but like I get to be a huge part of like how they deduce things in like whatever game I've got set up for them, right? So like one thing that I love talking about, um, as like from the perspective of a DM is like when you give your players like freedom, creative freedom, it it doesn't just like pay off for them because like they start like really enjoying themselves, but it pays off for you because like it can be a really good time. Now, like, I'm not saying like creative freedom as far as like, oh, DM, can I flavor my spell to deal force damage? That's just like a really kinky way to say like, can I flavor my spell to do damage that is hardly resisted by like any creature ever in like the history of D&D. Um, but like like one that I will probably always bring up as far as like creative freedom is for my 21st birthday, I ran two of my buddies through a D&D campaign. Initially, I had a like a full blown like one shot, like a cool little story that I was gonna run them through, and the thing was like I had everybody set up with D&D Beyond. I was gonna bring it to the max, if you will. But nobody made their characters on D&D Beyond, so I was like, well, that's okay. Maybe they just don't want to play D&D. But then both of my buddies were just like, dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like a carefully crafted story. Just take us through D&D and show us the ropes. We'll see how we feel about it. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. And so what I did was like, I just fucking threw it on them like on the spot. I was like, let's be goblins. And immediately their fucking faces lit up, and I was like, okay. They like where I'm going with it. But you know, so we had a pretty interesting little triage of goblin folk. We had me. I was playing as a DMPC, just so it wasn't like all on them. And that feels really bad. And just so like I want to be a bit of the experience too. But either way, it like I was Garbleshart, the goblin barbarian. And my friends were Jibbltang and Wibbltang, the goblin sorcerer, or no, sorry, wizard, the goblin wizard and the goblin bard, which like it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, dude, you're goblins. You can't be a wizard. Your intelligence isn't high enough. Technically you're a fucking goblin, so you don't have the required blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to be a fucking, a nerd about it in that sense. But oh my god. Can I not like choke up? Um, but just giving them like that bit of creative freedom, and it was mostly just so like they could get an experience for what it would be like to play like an actual game. Even though like we didn't use D&D Beyond, and a lot of the stuff I ended up showing them like how to add up your proficiencies and how to roll for stats and how to set up your character and what they're best for. Even though like D&D Beyond does all that stuff for you. If you guys don't know about D&D Beyond, you fucking should. It's it's any D&D players or game masters fucking wet dream. Um, but no, it's it's kind of part of the experience. But you know, I'm I'm running them through, and like mind you, I they managed to make what I initially only planned as like a like one of the first interactions. Like I thought I was gonna have to come up with a lot more to do like on the spot. But three goblins: Garble, Shart, Jibbletang, and Wibbletang. I still have their character sheets too, funnily enough. But they're goblins, so they're ruffians, and they wanna make it big, right? They wanna make it big. So what they do is they find a cart. They find a cart, you know, covered with that sort of like rain protective canvas, right? They find this cart, and you know they take it like really slow at first. They approach it sneakily. You know, you got a couple of people hiding in the bushes, and through a series of really good rolls, ridiculously good rolls for fucking goblins. Um, they end up sneaking right up on the cart, and what they did was they planned an ambush, right? And so they had me as Garbleshart, their fucking meat bag, jump out in front and run a massive distraction while they did their thing, so to speak. So the way I did it was I jumped out, I raged, and that was a surprise round. You know, jump out, I get to do my thing, I rage. And then, I kind of run them through, which it worked, ended up working perfectly because I got to teach them more about D&D, you know. And so, I let them know that they got their surprise round for getting good stealth rolls. And so they do their actions, One of them ends up like doing like a kamikaze barrel roll underneath the cart, um, while it stopped, and the other comes up towards the back and makes a really, really clever use of friends and command person to to and part of me wishes I was making it up, but the other part of me is so glad that it actually happened. What he did was, again, very clever, very, very clever use. He cast friends on one of them, and what friends does is it basically like compels this person's mind to, they're like best friends, they're buddy buddy with you, pretty much everything stops existing for a minute, and or at least that's how I like to spin it. You know, it's not like he's gonna like mindlessly fucking walk off a cliff or something. You know, or necessarily forget about what's going on, but through series of convincing and a couple of good rolls, he's like, you know, sure, yeah, yeah, he's a good buddy with you. And partly because I want to see what he's got in mind. Because again, with creative freedom comes like having a really good time. And you know, it was on my birthday, and I don't really give a fuck about like you know being a fucking rules lawyer during the whole thing. You know, we're there having fun. And so what he ends up doing is he uses friends to make one of the guards, one of the knights that are patrolling with the cart uh, doff his armor. So he spends his entire action taking off all of his armor, which I get it. I know. Taking off your armor is like it's like a whole like multi-minute process. It would take way more than one action. I get it. I get it. Whatever. Again, birthday party. We're having fun. Um, and so what he does is he uses that first action to get the person to take his armor off. Um, and then he breaks the concentration on that the next, you know, go around after everything goes around, which I'm so glad I made a fucking DMPC because one of the rolls I did for the guard because out in the front of the cart there was a raging goblin and another one that's casting like Melf's acid arrow and shit. But there's one of the guards ended up coming right up on my shit, right up on like my DMPC's character, and he ended up rolling a natural 20, and it would have killed me if he rolled a damage number higher because my character was one health point from death. And so it also like played a really cool narrative standpoint just because like you know it was funny. You got this fucking goblin who jumps out and starts screaming, going on some crazy shit, and then he just gets practically fucking impaled. um but but no, it's he makes one of the guys totally doff his armor. The next go around, he uh, he makes the other guy take his armor off. So he breaks the concentration on one, and he makes the other guy take his armor off. And so at first I'm like, "Mm, well, now that he's not like under a friend's, mm, then like you know he's well now he's starting to pick up his armor. He's starting to walk off, and this is again birthday party having fun. One of the few times I'll ever retcon something like after I've already like made a finite decision. Typically, as a DM, like if I'm gonna make a decision, that that's what I want him to do. You know, it's so like either way, it he was like, well, shit, that kind of ruins my entire plan. And so I was like, okay, you know, like we'll step it back a few steps. You know, I don't mind. And so he he ends up making the other guy totally doff his armor, and so now they're just like a couple of sweaty dudes in like briefs, you know, and like undershirts. Um, and so the next go around, he uses his friend's action to fucking make one of the guards like go in for a violent like make out session with the other, which and I don't know why I even try to roll for the shit, but with a performance roll, it it makes the other realize his affection for the guard that is essentially coming on to him very violently. Uh, and so with that, they totally distract the two, and by that time, the wizard, who, mind you, his backstory was he's a wizard because he ended up like killing the shit out of an actual wizard, and he took his headband of intellect and his fucking spell book so he could not only, not be a fucking idiot, but he could cast spells, which is really fucking clever for a run that we're gonna get done with for like, I, we which like we played it for like a good 4 or 5 hours, and the cart thing was the entire session, and we wrapped it up on them bringing the cart to a town and trading it off. But that's kind of getting to the climax of the story. So I'm gonna save what happens. But you know, by that point, by the point of like the two guards in the back making out with each other, the wizard has casted poison cloud and has made the original cart, the cart driver, like he's poisoned, he's taking acid damage, he's like on the verge of death because he's just a regular like everyday Joe. And so they make him just run off, I'm just like, yeah, he doesn't want to be here. He realizes it's a lost cause, so he just darts off into the woods. Um, the other guards end up dying a very violent death through a series of fire bolts, um, and smacks over the head with big club from fucking Garbleshart. And so they clear it out, right? They end up taking the cart. They leave these two guards in the back. They're making out. They're doing their thing. They take off, and they make with their spoils. They start digging around in the back of the in the back of the cart, and seeing what they got. It's mostly just like food and supplies. There was one box that had some, not cheap but not expensive clothing, and one particular where it was a very, very ostentatious, ornate box, um, and they crack it open, and it is a sweet onyx blade with very intricate engravings and runes that go along the hilt and the handle, and at the very pommel is this gorgeous, gorgeous jade. And so, you know, they kind of stow it. They put it back there for a minute. They're like, "All right, you know, we made with bank. We got it going on right now." And so what they do with that is they they take it to the town, and like one of the only places they know is like kind of accepting of goblins and of like more likely than not stolen goods, or repossessed goods. Um, but they end up taking it to a half orc, you know, essentially like a black market tradesman, and Jibbltang, the wizard, does not let Wibbltang, the bard, speak at fucking all. He doesn't get to try and negotiate anything. So what they end up doing is they trade this cart full of supplies and food and clothing for a Giormani skin tight bodysuit. And that's where we wrapped it up. And I go on that whole fucking tangent, that whole story, just to say, like, you can you can have a lot of fun with D&D, especially if one, your DM is all about having fun, and two, if your players have the creative liberty to have fun, you know, because like there are some players out there that will just take it way too fucking seriously, which like it's like I get it, like if we're playing like a multi-year campaign that's got like heavy story into it, and it's like the characters have been around and like will likely be around for as long as the campaign's gonna last, which can be like, depending on your DM, could be like upwards of like multiple years. So like I can get being like serious for a story, but like it, even if it ends up not going your way, it's not something to like, you don't cry over spilled milk. It's you just have fun with it. That's kind of the point of it. I've heard and thankfully never had to experience like people getting so like uptight and serious about it. You know, there are too many people who would like I don't know. There was a one of my old DMs was talking about like this absolute fucking edge lord that he had to deal with. Like he wanted his character to be like super edgy and cool. Like he was like not like trying to be the Joker or anything, but like it was one of those like character tropes where it was like you know he tried to make like his like level 2 or level 3 character like, yeah, I've been through war and I've killed many and they were all my kill. And it's like, it's cool, you know like trying to make your character like a war vet or something. It's like, I'm not saying like, don't do that, but like definitely don't like make your character like, in his backstory like this indomitable beast who's felled many by his hand, especially if like your characters are starting out at like level 3, or like worse yet, like a really low level, like level 1. Like if your character is that low a level, then like, yeah, they've got more like fighting experience and whatnot than like what a regular human would be. So like being a war vet kind of makes sense for a level 3 character. you know it's don't be like this edge lord where it's like, oh yeah, this armor makes me unkillable, or this helmet, if I try to take it off, if anybody tries to take the armor off of me, then they die. And it's like, dude, don't fucking be that guy. Don't be that guy who not just like ruins it for yourself, but like ruins it for the other people. Because nobody wants to fucking deal with that goofy shit, dude. Like nobody. I've never met anybody who said like, oh yeah, dude, the edgelord character trope is so cool. I hope all of my fucking players are like absolute weirdo edgelords. Really can't wait to DM for my fucking egomaniac player who feels like he can never die and wants to lone wolf in a fucking party of like 6. It's like, dude, no, no, ew, ew, brother, you're being fucking cringe. But like, what makes stuff like that even better is like, if you have cool players with you, then like, one, it's not gonna mess with them at all. And two, they have like really clever ways of going around it. So like they're still gonna have fun with stuff like that. Where it's like, dude's trying to be an edgelord, or dude's trying to like be overly cool with his character. He wants his character to be Batman. But it's it's just really funny to see like people people try to like be weird or edgy with their character, and then like it ultimately just fucking backfires on them by like the players just being fucking absolute goofballs and not taking it seriously at all. Which, like, again, there's nothing wrong with taking your story or your campaign or whatever seriously. Just don't be a fucking weirdo about it, you know? Nobody likes a weirdo. Like, the most serious that, like, I've ever personally got with a character was a character I made for a campaign that ended up going on for, like, the better part of 2 years. Um, he was a dragonborn wizard who, ended up getting some pretty crazy, like, fucking god powers. Either way, that's besides the point. Of course, he didn't start with those. His home village, because like one of the tropes that was like in the campaign was like dragonborn were like shunned and almost looked at like Argonians in Skyrim, so like they're like practically slaves. They're lesser beings, period. You know, and so I went with like my hometown, my home village, my home city was destroyed, and with it, like my loved ones, I lost them, and it ended up being like this thing where it was like my character thought they were gone, thought they were dead, but they were truly alive and well. Um, but no, it's like that's the serious I've ever got, like the most serious I've ever got with the character. And, like the whole reason he was a wizard was because like one of the people that ended up, picking him essentially out of, destroyed city rubble was a wizard himself, and he wanted to, teach him his ways. It's because it was one of those things that was like, he the wizard had never like had a son, and so it was it was sort of like the owl finding Sekiro, you know, or finding wolf, I guess. But no, no, I've had players like genuinely just like straight up take fucking Guts' backstory. Whereas like he was born out of the dying corpse of his mother. And it's like, that's cool and all, but like, you know, try to do something clever, try to do something cool. Like that kind of sounds shitty on my end, especially as like a DM. But like, like if you're gonna try and like make your own character, like make your own character, don't make Guts. It's like, I mean, I guess, yeah, dude, it's a cool backstory. Cool story, bro. But, the this thing I'm really trying to get across is like, don't be that guy. Don't be a fucking weirdo, dude. Nobody likes a weirdo. Absolutely nobody. And, chances are, if your DM is not very lenient with, you know, goofy shit, and not like the good kind of goofy, like the bad kind of goofy, where you're just like a dickhead and your character's an edgelord, and you know he's just really weird to the rest of the players. There's a good chance you just get kicked out of the campaign. You just get straight up kicked out. It's like, it's like the particular guy that I was talking about, that made his backstory like a guts backstory. It's like, no, I didn't kick him out, and like, I didn't like disrespect him or like his character choice or like, how he made his character, just because it was like ridiculously similar to guts. Because like I mean, who am I to, you know, ruin somebody's fun whenever like he's not being a weirdo about it or anything. You know, he's not being that guy. He's not being a fucking cringe lord or edge lord about his character and his backstory. In fact, his character was like super disclosed about his backstory, which was like a thing where it's like at first he's like really in his shell about how his life was and what he's had to go through. But then once he's got used to the people that he was around and he's actually garnered like respect for the party, then it ended up becoming like this thing where it's like he started opening up and like talking about his life and how certain things affected him. And kind of like the why I am the way I am thing. Which, that's cool too. A lot of the best characters don't disclose anything until they're comfortable with it. Like in a D&D standpoint. Even in a non-D&D standpoint. But, no, man. It's, D&D is a wonderful thing. You get to have fun with your friends, at best, and not even at worst. You get to socialize with people. It's a social game. You get to talk to people. You get to strategize with them. You get to not just obviously your character in the game is getting to know them better, but like you as a person get to know whoever you're playing with a lot better. Like my first time ever playing D&D was when my stepbrother was just like, hey man, I'm gonna go play, like me and my buddies, it was like all of his high school buddies, me and my buddies, we've been playing D&D, like if you want you can start joining us whenever we play. And I was like, I've never really played it, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. He was like, dude, you're cool, you don't even have to go like super like out of your way and like do all kinds of like crazy role play stuff. We will, it's fun, but just like play with us one night and then see how you feel. And if you don't like it, then I'm not gonna force you to play. But if you like it, then you're more than welcome to play with us, kind of thing. But long story short, I ended up really liking it. Especially because like he had a really cool DM. His buddy was a really good DM. I played a Kenku called Cuffs because his first interactions with the guys were to put me in cuffs. And so I just started repeating that shit until the paladin of the group was just like, man, don't be mean to him. It's like he's like a kid, not like but like the Kenku. He's like like he's just a little bird dude. Let's be nice to him. And of course because I'm a Kenku, and like the character, like that species entire trope is like they they're ravens, you know, they're creatures of mimicry, and so like they're gonna repeat what they hear, you know, what other people say around them. They're gonna repeat it like very astute children. Um, but no, you know, it 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 was great. It was great. It was a great time. I would run through a D&D game with those guys 100 times over, even though we only ended up playing like 5 or 6 sessions, because like the whenever I joined like pretty late into the campaign, and so it's not like all of them are like level 15 or anything, you know. He was pretty smart with it, and you know he had him at about like level 10, 11, and so like you know they were to a point where like they had good stuff and whatnot, but you know they weren't too overpowered to the point where it's like they could just molly stomp fucking anything that the DM threw at them. Which like DM tip from you know current DM to aspiring DM: don't let your players get to level 20. Don't make your characters, or don't put your players in level 20 shoes, because they will break the shit out of your game. They will turn your cool encounter into a cakewalk. They will turn your fucking badass boss fight into child's play. I guess depending on what you do, or you know what you plan for your campaign, it can be good, but it's a very double-edged sword to let your players get level 20. Because like yeah, it's cool, they're having fun, you know, they're max level, but then you as a DM start struggling on the inside, you know. It's like it's one of those things where it's like they hit level 20 with this character that they've been playing for so long, and it's like you know, it's great, it's cool. Aside from the fact that they just, you know, fucking molly stomp everything. But no man, it's D&D is a great game. Like I said, I could probably sit here and yap about it. Which really, I have been yapping about it all night. You know, gives me something to yap about, something to kind of turn my brain off while I do this mindlessly. Greetings, greetings, how goes it? Hope you're having a wonderful night. See ya. See ya later. Kimo Sabe. See, I can never tell if that's like a bot or a real person. Like, it was like I want to say it's like a bot, just cause like who is like actually awake at this time? It's just like, but like there's always like one viewer that'll like come in and stay and say nothing, and then there's always like 5 or 6 other viewers who will pop in, stay for like a few seconds, and then pop out. And then occasionally it'll be like 4 or 5 viewers that pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out. Like there's no way those are not bots, dude. But like, just I wouldn't like if it was a real person and they hopped in and you know I would hate if they were like joining in and I just didn't say anything, because that shit gets boring. That shit gets boring, you know. If you're gonna sit here, if you're gonna come in and give your time to me, I may as well give my time to you, you know. Greetings, hello, Mister Unknown, unsure. How goes it? Shit. I knew that was gonna happen. No, damn it. It's fine. We got a way around this. Wow. Oh no. Well, it's not very cool, is it? Very, very unfortunate and unlucky circumstance. See you later. Like, see, and like that even, like, further proves my point. So, like, he hung out for a minute, and then didn't say anything, watched me fuck up, and then dipped. Which, like, I get it. People, especially, like, with this game, people don't like to, watch people who, like, just kind of sit there and fuck up. But, either way, I feel sort of inclined, You're gonna give me your time, I'll give you my time. Okay, that was cheap as fuck. But, like, with that, if somebody is just gonna, like, come and say absolutely fucking nothing, and then dip, then, like, almost feels like a thing where it's like, don't really feel like I should waste my breath. Because, I mean, eventually it's gonna get to that point where it's like, like, if I do end up getting any kind of notoriety or popularity, then it's gonna eventually become like I don't greet literally every person who comes into the stream. They come in and they start talking, they want to talk, and I'll give them that. But if somebody's just popping in, I'm not going to sit there and greet them. Especially if, like, it ever gets to a point where it's like there's 100 people at a time. That's 100 greetings, dude. I'm not about that. It's like, with time it'll get there. It'll get there, I'm sure. As long as I'm consistent and keep doing what I'm doing. Because there's been steady inclines thus far. I don't know why the steady incline would stop. Just because it's not like I try my best, but it's like, I'll try my best to, like, not be boring or not post anything that's like nobody's gonna give a shit about. Which is why I try not to, like, post too many, like, Fortnite stuff, and because, like, it's cool, and, like, yeah, I'm good at the game, whatever. Like 100,000 people are also good at Fortnite, so whatever, join the club, buddy. But no, you know, it's I try not to be lame. Try to be, you know, interactive and talkative. Mostly just so like anybody who does hang out doesn't get bored of just like watching nothing. Or, you know, just watching pure gameplay, because if they wanted to watch just pure gameplay, then they would go watch a gameplay video of whatever I'm doing. Oh. But, you know, a lot of times I just like to sit and yap. And YouTube streaming is a good excuse to just sit and yap. Oh. Horrible. But no, you know, it's also one of those, like, you know, it's everybody's like hard on dream. Where it's like, you know, one day they'll make it big on YouTube. It's not even like I want to make it big, you know. It's just like you know, if there's ever like a scenario where it's like, you know, my dad has always told me, like, you know, when you're gonna do something, just make sure you love what you're doing. You know, whatever you do, love it. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. So like, if I could not necessarily make a living, but like, you know, make somewhat of a profit, and it's not like it's all about the profit. You know, it'd be cool to be able to make a profit doing what I love. You know, making a profit off of my hobby. You know, it's like if I got to sit here and play video games and get a couple extra bucks after sweating my ass off, then it's like, you know, I'm gonna do it. You know, it'd be cool to. Even though I've been doing a lot less sweat my ass off recently, unless I'm fucking putting in pumps of iron. You know, going to the gym. I don't go to the gym. I mostly do just like basic calisthenics. But no, man, it's a long time dream of mine, and I'm not gonna give up on it. I've had the YouTube channel for about 4 or 5 years at this point, maybe 6 years even at this point, and I mean, it's gone relatively nowhere, and which I'm not even trying to discredit where it's gone so far. You know, it's definitely not gone nowhere, but like, you know, the numbers are nothing special. You know, it's like I said, which is why it's like, you know, kind of shooting for the stars kind of thing, where it's like, you know, eventually it'd be really cool to. My ultimate goal is to get 1,000 subscribers. You know, I would be more than satisfied with that right there. But then obviously after you hit one goal, you gotta set another. Which is like, you know, wow, yeah, 1,000 subscribers. You know, one is like, that's absolutely, I can't say it's absolutely nothing, you know. Just, but like compared to like, you know, what I'm trying to reach, what I'd like to reach, you know, it's definitely not like, you know, fucking moist critical level or fucking, you know, 1,000 people is absolutely nothing to scoff at. You know, that is a ton of people. You know, I don't know if anyone's ever been in a stadium with like 1,000+ people, but like that's a lot of fucking people, dude. But that's besides the point. Um, ooh, it's I'm definitely not gonna give up on it. I'm going to do this for I don't know. I'll probably do this until I physically can't play video games, or until I, you know, have a fucking wife and kids. You know, even then, I can see myself playing video games and doing it on YouTube. Just you know, especially of recent, I have like less and less wanted to just like play the game for nothing. Like it's kind of come to the point of like, you know, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, dude, I should like just stream. You know, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I should just stream whatever I'm doing. Because like with consistency comes progress. You know? So if I were to stream like literally every day, it would be exhausting, yes. You know, to deal with streaming every single day and, you know, talking and yapping every single day about, you know, just whatever. Which is why I like kind of try and space it up to like maybe once a week. Or, you know, once or twice a week. Which is why, like, you know, in that Dark Souls video, I talked about, like, you know, I'm live every week. Which is, like, you know, it doesn't specify how often I'm live. It just specifies, like, every week I'm going to be live. Which, you know, I've tried to strive for. And, I've been doing a lot more. But, like, you know, the other thing is, like, you know, recently I haven't really, you know, but that is entirely because it's not like a, you know, oh, I'm streaming weekly, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna stream weekly. It's you know, recently I've been over at my brother's. I've been spending the holidays with my family and whatnot, you know, and I would much rather allocate my time to that than like playing video games and YouTube, just because I do all this stuff normally anyways. So it's like, why would I stop doing what I'm doing when, you know, the only thing I'm doing is like hang out with family or whatever, you know? Or why would I totally give up on it whenever it's like, you know, I say like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stream every week, and then on, you know, Christmas, New Year's, I don't stream for a couple of weeks. You know, I'm not gonna give up on it like that, you know. You know, there may even be times where it's like, in the future, if I have like an actual schedule, that, you know, I just don't totally follow it. Just because, you know, life is a doozy, life is a thing. And I've been having to like put up with a lot more of it recently. Which is why I haven't come around to like making an actual schedule. You know? And I'm super vague with it, you know, it's like I'm live every week, you know? So it's like, you'll know to look forward to, like, you know, I'll be live sometime during this week. And then you'll keep an eye out for it. And then typically I'll try to do something with it, you know? So it's like, tomorrow I definitely plan on, or well, I guess at this point today, you know, I've been playing this shit for so fucking long. At this point, it'd be today. I plan on playing more Five Nights at Freddy's to get that out of the way and over with. Because I definitely need to beat that game. I want to beat it so I can get moving on to the next game. And like, I still quite haven't decided, like, you know, if I'm gonna do every little nook and cranny. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's 1, it's pretty easy to. Just cause, like, you know, there isn't, like, mini games or any kind of extra bullshit you gotta do. You just gotta beat the 7th night, which is, like, you know, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 mode. Fucking billions of 20s. Which, once you get it figured out, is not bad at all. But like, whenever you start getting to, like, you know, the later games, there's like a lot more to it. Like, there's like little nitty gritty secret stuff you gotta do. Which, I mean, honestly, I'm probably gonna do. You know, now that I get to like talking to myself about it, it's you know, there's no reason not to. And you know, if I'm gonna get these games and play them on stream, may as well play them to their fullest extent. I don't know how the fuck I got stuck on that. Hey guys. Ooh. Regardless, I'm gonna do this run and then call it for tonight. I'm getting just a little tired. And by that I mean I am fucking tired and I need to catch up on sleep, like really bad. So I'm probably still gonna wake up at like 8 in the morning or 12. My body is like a fucking natural alarm clock. I literally, I won't let myself, in like the worst way possible, sleep past 12 o'clock. I always wake up before 12 o'clock, even if I try to like force myself to sleep in. I end up getting like uncomfortable in bed. It's like, oh dude, I gotta get up. That doesn't mean I'm gonna start streaming as soon as I get up. You know, usually I'll try and get up and like give myself time to wake up and get out of the shitty grays of the morning. But this is usually like, usually I'm up at about this time, but like of recent I've started to get my sleep schedule back in order. And so like I'm still up at like 2, 3 in the morning kind of shit, but like I've gotten a lot better at, you know, sleeping at regular times. Regardless. play Pokemon Go every day. I want to. I want to be. I want to be a lot more consistent with what I do, with what I'm doing here. And so, you know, I'll just have to get into the swing of like, you know, streaming whatever I play. You know, if I'm just hanging out with my homies, you know, we're playing whatever. Usually we'll just like we'll play, you know, sweet nothings. Recently, me and my buddies have been playing Baldur's Gate. That'd be a fun game to stream. But you know, and we're not doing anything crazy on Baldur's Gate. Like the two guys that I'm playing with, like one of them has barely made it past the Emerald Grove, and he was talking about having trouble with it. And then the other guy has like never actually had a chance to beat the game, because the guy he was playing with before was like super weird with it, and like I said, you know, he wanted him to download all these like mods that made the game not easier, but like just kind of took the fun out of the game. And then the other thing, and the absolute fucking worst thing, I don't understand how anybody could, like, you know, have the mindset of wanting to do this, but like he would like, you know, get to a point where it was like, you know, we played one night and we played it for like a good solid few hours, and it's like, alright, yeah man, good game sesh. Like, yeah, we'll play more later. And then like he would come in and be like, hey yo, let's play this, like let's play. And it's like, you know, we're all like, nah, you know, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. Or it's like, you know, it'll be a thing of like, you know, certain days, like, you know, maybe I don't really feel like it, you know, which is fine. You know, we've all got other games to play, and if all else, we can just hang out in the party together, chat to each other, whatever, you know. But, you know, no, it's like when I want to play, I want to play, you know. It's like he would do this thing where it was like he'd hop in, be like, hey, you know, you want to play? And you know, we'd be like, yes, and we'd play. Or we'd be like, nah, I don't really feel like it today. And he would do the scummiest fucking thing possible of playing through the game without us. And so it eventually got to a point where it was like every time he'd ask, we'd just be like, no, we don't feel like playing. You know? Just because it doesn't feel good at all. You know? You guys start this game up together, and then you're like, alright, yeah, we'll all play together whenever we play. And then you don't do that. You know? It's like you don't actually play with us when you play. You're playing on this server, on this save that you said that you would play with us, and you're not doing it with us. I get that we're saying, like, you know, maybe not today, you know, but like, you know, I'm never one to stick to one game for a terribly long time. Like, and even with like something like Neon White, dude, as much as I love this game, I'm not gonna sit here and play it every single day, you know. And you know, he especially with a game like Baldur's Gate, you know, if you're gonna start it with some people and then like progress a huge chunk of the story without them, it's like, yeah, no shit, they're not gonna want to play the game, you know. You're like taking the whole fucking point of playing the game out of the game. So, kind of like a thing of like, you know, making up for lost time. And shitty friends. you go. You cheeky bastard. I love that super subtle, like, level load. Which, like, you know, when you're doing it normally, it is actually, like, super subtle. Just because you crash through the window, you use your fire shotgun, you burst through that window like crazy. You're never gonna realize that it's just a big, bright, white fucking slate that, you know, flashes you. You know, if you're doing it fast enough, you really won't, because it'll just look like you're breaking through the glass. Now that I'm looking at it, there probably is a way or two of killing him before he reaches his final phase here. Time is ticking, White. I have no idea who voice acts Green, but he's made himself one of my favorite voice actors just by playing Green. Perfect antagonist. Very nice. Book of Life levels, my favorite levels in the game. I feel like most people's favorite levels in the game. Only just with a slight twist, because the missiles are going to make everything really weird. I feel like, for the most part at least. It's like right there. This is gonna make things just a little different. Not really, because like it's still under the same principle, I guess. But like Don't get your double jump there. Don't get your slam right here. But I mean, it still unfolds the same way. It's like a weird piece of origami. You know. You know how that origami gets. It's it's really weird paper. Again, playing super safe. This is where I am, like, a lot more like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna pussyfoot it for the most way. But, don't have to kill everything here. And, this is like the final stretch of the game. Being this close to it being done. Not gonna say that the pressure's on, but the pressure's on. I know you can go for it like that, but it's a little precise, and I'm not trying to lose it all. I know about the crazy skips here, too. But, yet again, very, very safe. Playing it very, very safe. I would be lying if I told you I wasn't just a little nervous. I know it's, not a super good thing. I'm right there, and the smallest slip up is enough to put it all at an end. Tiniest little mistake is all that it'd take to totally fuck it up. What? Interesting. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't know why the fuck that happened. But, not gonna lie. Had my asshole eating cotton. You know, had me, freaking the fuck out for a minute. That's fucking it, baby. GG's. Mikey's rush clear. Not in a glamorous time. Mikey's Heaven and Hell rush is complete. Bring it around. All done. Platinum trophy for Neon White. Whew. Wipe the motherfucking sweat off of my brow. Oh, man, that feels good. I just keep getting better and better. I just want to Wise Journal. Max everything for everyone. Then come over Heaven's Gate, Job Archive, Dev Metals everywhere. every turn. And all of these times are times that I'm gonna get better on. Plan on coming back through and beating the shit out of all my times. Though all of these are red medals. Oh man. That feels really good. But that's gonna be all for me tonight. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to call it. Get ready to kick back. I don't think there's anything else really to show. Nope.
Neat how perfect this beach looks. Feel like I should toss something in there. Next time.
We'll leave it right here. Next time. For those of you that stopped in, thank you for stopping in. Mr. Grub, you're a fucking real one. Thank you. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for hanging out until I beat it. If you hung out, you stopping in later on. Thank you either way. I'll see you guys later today. Peace.